Alright, we are officially live. So, hello and welcome back to Satisfactory. It has been a bit. I was out of town over the weekend, so we missed a couple of streams, but we are back and time to get up and running again. Now, do I remember what we were doing last time? No, but I can figure it out. So we have steel production here, and we have nitrogen gas packaging here. Okay, and then over here we have copper and caterium. Okay, so that's all pretty straightforward. So I guess we can just move on to producing some stuff with this, assuming that's all working, which, I mean, it's hard to tell. I see mostly green lights. Of course, the foundries are placed in such a way that it's impossible to tell and see all of them at once, but it looks good to me. This is showing 97%, which could just be a startup thing. Who knows? We're gonna move on and see what happens. So the next thing we need to do is, let's see, so we have our steel ingots, we have our copper ingots, we have our caterium ingots. The next thing we need is to make rods and pipes out of the steel. So let's go up to another floor for this. It would be pretty annoying to do all of this on this same floor. It's sort of cramped already. Alright, I should have placed the wall by the refinery so that I can tell what a good height is. But we can just bring the foundation over. And, alright, I was correct. This is the right height. Alright, so let's make some space. And let's see, how much space do I even need here? Probably a lot. And these machines are probably slow, but should be fine. Alright, so we have our space. So this will at least be good for a start. We need to make rods, which I imagine will be constructors. Steel rods. 48 per minute. And it uses 12, which is a 1 to 5 off of 60, which kinda sucks. I don't know if I want to do that. Let's see. The other way of doing it would just be to split it without speed limiting. So 821.25 divided by 48 is 17.1. So we would get, what, like 18, which would be 332. Yeah, that makes sense. 821.25 divided by 18. Yep, so that all fits. And now we just need to get a big old line of these. And let's actually make a quick blueprint. Just, it'll save a little bit of time. So we're gonna fit. Can we? So we're not gonna be able to fit 6 in here. We can get 5. So instead we're just gonna go with 2. Or we're gonna go with 3. And then we get the splitter in, which goes directly into those. And that is all of that. And we get a power pole, which can connect up. Wait, I don't want that power pole to go there. That's like the worst possible spot for it, because it's going to be directly in the way of belts. So we're going to just tuck it in to there. And then we just need to merge these up, which I can make that like mostly auto connecting like this. Now we are going to need, we're going to need more than one belt to connect all of this up, because 821 is just slightly more than 780. But it should be fine. Alright, so we have this. It is all set and ready to go. So now we can just call this steel rods. Turbo motors. Not turbo motors. Alright. So we have that. Now we can take this out, take that out as well, and start placing these guys in. So, these are batches of 3, and we're going to need 6 of them. So just along like this should work, honestly. So let's get them lined up nice. And then give them blueprint auto connect. 1, 2, 3. Expand this out this way to get the remaining 3. And so that is 4, 5, and 6. And then just make this floor a little bit longer. Like that. Alright, so now we have that in. And we have our nice big connection. Oh, I messed that up. Whoopsies, I didn't upgrade this side to Mark 5 like I should have. So we're gonna have to fix that. Alright, so now we need to make sure that the outputs don't go past 780. So we need like just literally one of these, I guess, to be on a separate thing. Because we need 41 to be separate, and then for the rest to be 780. So this is going to be more than that, which means it should work just fine. Alright, so that is all in like that. And we can grab some space to put the sinks in. Actually, we don't need a sink for this spot because these are just going to go directly into screws. And actually, we might want to do that. So screws can accept up to 10 rods per minute. Alright, so yeah, this isn't going to be like a perfectly coherent, easy swap, because these make 45.6 or whatever. So we can't just send like one constructor into one constructor for screws. We're going to have a lot of constructors for screws. But that's fine. That's not an issue at all. So, what I do want is I want to go like that and like that. And you need to be priority merger, and you need to go right any center overflow. So we have a belt of 780 and a belt of 40 something. So that is that, and we need to finish up this. So these we need to do a split of 2 and a split of 3. Either order is fine. So let's just do another 3. 1 and a 2 and a 3, and let's see, these are 11.4, so 3 of those would be 30-ish, more than 30. So these belts can be Mark 1s. We're going to need Mark 2s on the inputs to these. So we go there, and we go there, and we go there. And then we get splitter there, which goes like there, and then it comes all the way out to there. Alright, so that should be good. Now we need to connect all of these constructors up to the power grid, like so. And then we just bring this down. So that is in, and these are all powered up. Now we grab our steel, and we're going to have to actually split this because some of the steel is going to pipes. So how do we do that? So steel pipes, we need 450 of doing this recipe, which means 675 steel ingots going to there. And that should be relatively easy to make. But if we go rods, 821.25. Would be like that, which would be 205.31. Yeah, alright. Let's not do that. Let's just have this be an overflow, and the steel pipes can manage the splitting there. Alright, so in order to do that, we need to work with this steel, which I have sort of in a messed up way over here. So we need to take this belt and bring it over to there, but not directly. We need you to go up a bit first to get over those nitrogen pipes. Okay, and now you're over here. And you come down a little bit. And that smart splitter is sort of horrific, but it should be fine. Alright, so now we have this. And step 1 is to prioritize everything onto the right belt. So let's let's move this all the way back here, just so that we can have space. So those go forward into that, and not like that, just go into that, and then across there. So this is right any center overflow. This is priority to the middle. So this is going to be a belt of 780. And this will be a belt of whatever scraps are left. So we have to take this belt of 780 and split off 675. So 675 divided by 5 divided by 5 is 27. That doesn't really do me any good. 780 minus 675 is 105. Alright, so we have to take 105 off of our belt of 780, which is 120 minus 15, which is, yeah, alright. This is a bit silly in terms of like the level of steps that we need to go through, but it should be fine. So we have a priority merger there, which, let's dismantle some of that stuff and have you go in to that. So this is going to get priority from the sides. And so this is going to have 105 going back into it. So now we get a smart splitter there, which is going to split 105 off this way and take the remaining 675 forwards this way. So in order for this to be 105, it is going to need a merger and a smart splitter, probably. So this is going to be 120 and 120. So we have 120 going there. Now we expand this out a little bit, and we take, let's see here, I guess off of that side. So this is going to be 60 going there, which means that that is, no, okay, so we need to make this be 15 first. So in order to do that, we need to split it into 4. So you're a splitter. So you go that way and that way. And you go that way and just that way. So let's see if I have this correct. Is that right? That's 120, 120, 60, 30 goes that way. Yes, alright, so this does work, and then we have this is going to, because this is the remaining, what, 45 off of that line. And then we have our remaining 60 off of this line, which merges into there. To make, no, it doesn't, we don't want it to go into there. We need it to get around to here. Or maybe having it be here is fine too. Have that be high priority, so we have 780 here. Then this is carrying 780. which this merger, I guess, doesn't do anything. And so we have 780 here as well. So this is the full output of everything. However, before we get to it, we have write any center overflow. So we have 120 going off this way. And gosh, this is convoluted as heck. Alright. So we have 120 on this belt, which is here. Then we have, oh, it's technically running. Right, any center overflow, I think. So we send 60 there, which goes 30 there, which goes 15 there. Which means that this is going to be taking 15 less than it otherwise would, which means it'll be taking 105. And then all of the spare goes back to here, which I think actually this works. I think this should be 675. So let's put a sink in here and power it up like so. And then we put in a throughput monitor just right there, and it should show 675. Alright. It's fluctuating a little bit between 660 and 690, which is what you'd expect. Alright, so that is probably solid then. So we can leave that there for a bit and then take this up to here, which I guess I put that in facing the wrong way. Let's rotate this around so that it doesn't have to go back and forth a whole bunch and take forever. So this comes over this way. That ought to be far enough for now, and then you get a splitter, which goes there and there, and those both need to be upgraded. Alright, so if that's outputting 675, then this should be outputting the remainder, which I don't even know how much it is. I think it's like 300 some or something. Alright, so that then goes up here. And then we just pop it into that. And that should be all good. So that's going to be splitting across, and now this sink should never get anything. This sink is apparently not redundant, which is a bit weird. But that might just be a question of things getting settled out. Yeah, because you wouldn't expect anything to go here, because it should all be going either up there or into that sink. So the fact that we're losing some back here is a bit of a concern. And I would assume that this should be fine since it's being prioritized, which means that this won't be getting enough because of that. Alright. So, why is that happening? Because I guess it could just be that there's more than 675 on this belt to begin with. And there's no accounting for that in this. Okay, so actually what we need to do is then we need to just do this again, but in reverse. So you are left any, center overflow. And now, if we connect all this up, we should have it all balanced out so that this belt is getting saturated and then sending it all back there. So now this should be getting exactly the right amount. And sure enough, we don't see anything going into there anymore. And we probably don't need that sink at all, because if there is saturation problems here, it'll go into there. But we're just going to leave that sink just in case. Okay, so it looks like our slight disruption has caused a bit of a delay over here. And we're also going to be dealing with a backlog of rods soon. So let's make some screws. And by some screws, I mean a comedically huge amount of screws. So let's grab some space over this way. And not go down there, because that's where some of our drone ports are. And instead, we go over this way. So, 1,785 screws. Now, we're just using the regular old rods to screws recipe. Nothing exciting here. So, what we need to do is take our rods, which... Okay, we must be using the rods somewhere else for rotors, probably. Yeah, so we are going to need to figure that out. So, 1,785 divided by 4 is 446.25 rods. Alright, so that is fine. And actually, while we're here, we can just put an additional 0 in. So this is how many machines we're going to need, which is 45 apparently, which is 3 times 3 times 5, which is fine. Do that easily. So let's get a blueprint designer in. And we just need some constructors, which actually, if we can just do the 5 in here. Okay, that's partially overlapping. We should be able to squeeze it in just barely. 2, not there. 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so yes, the constructors do basically exactly fit. So, if it's going to be 45, so we need to have screws, which is 1,785 divided by 45 is 39.667, which is almost, but not quite 100%. So we just need to paste that across all of these so that they're all set up. And then we need our trusty 1 to 5 balancer, which we're going to build in default mode. And we could probably squeeze this in closer by just messing with the exact locations of these belts. So you go like that, you go like that, you go into there, you are actually perfect, and you go around to there. Alright, so then that is going to be perfectly fine, because this is going to be like 50 total. And these interior belts are Mark II, right? Oh, maybe not. Let's make those Mark II just to be sure. This one is Mark II. Alright, so that should be fine then. And we just need to then put in the merger on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we need Mark I belts going out here. And then a big old row of Mark V belts going across. 2, 3, and 4. And then we can get these in like that. And power line. Actually, Mark II power line is a bit small for this, actually, because it's going to be 5, so 7 would leave us with only 2 free spots, which is, like, technically possible, but you gotta have some extra space. So let's have it like that. So this is screws. And we can clear it. Get that gone. And some trains have collided. Why though? Why can't you just not do that? Is the question that I'm asking. I have signals. And fortunately it was right here, so I don't have to go too far. So we re-rail. And re-rail. So yeah, why did you do that? This whole thing is one giant block. So it definitely should not have been allowed for this train to enter the block when this train was already in it. So I guess they're just bugged. Off you go. And I guess... Okay, now hold on. Who gave you the right to go through there? Because this train is clearly physically present in this block. Right? Like, it's literally in here. And yet trains are just going through as if it isn't. I don't know. That's weird. That's really weird. And it's not even like, oh, the paths wouldn't have intersected, because the paths clearly would have intersected. Alright, what if we just kill the path signals and make this whole thing just a block? So now there should be absolutely zero shenanigans. Should be very simple. If there's anything in here, nothing can enter. So hopefully that will have fixed it, and we can head back to doing what we were doing. By the way, this is not connected. Alright. That's an easy fix. Off you go. And everything else is going fine. This is just an entirely unrelated factory, and it's apparently not working at 100%, but we can deal with that later. Now we go back here, and this has all saturated up. So, we need to get the screws in. And how much was it? 446.25 screws. Which was, I believe, 45 of these. So we have this, and then 3, and then 3. Ooh. That drone came right overhead. Alright, we don't need to give this that much space. We can just give it like that and have it be fine. So now we go blueprint auto connect. 1, 2, 3. And let's get this all nice and evened out, and then expand it a whole long ways because we're going to need a lot of these. Alright, so off we go. And we have 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, power. Swap to jetpack. And get back up. Alright, I didn't realize we were that far out of the way already. But we recovered. So we're just going to need to grab you and start getting power in here. May as well get all of these hooked up while we're at it. Alright, so how many were we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3 more. Alright, so we just expand all of this. And let's get it there. And there. And there. So we're at 6, we need 3 more. We go 7, 8, and we're out of power range already somehow. So we get those 2 in, and let's just place this last one in now. Alright, so that is 9, that is all of them, and now we just need to bring the foundations out this far. So there we go. Boom. And just a couple more. Like that. And then we need to get this sort of halfway used area in. Like that. And connect that last batch up. Alright, so this is now all of the machines needed for that, and we just need to do some attaching. Okay, apparently I left some of those in, which is fine. So we need to get batches of 780 out of this. 1,785 divided by 780 is 2.28. So we need 3 belts in order for this to work. And each of these batches of 5 is 40 times 5 is slightly less than 200. So we have 200, 400, 600. And then, yeah, I guess we could just do 3 belts of 600-ish. That makes sense. So we take all that out, and then this curves around to be our first belt of 600. Then we have 200, 400, 600. And so we take out here. And of course we have to dismantle all these tiny little bits. So this is our second batch of 600. And let's bring this all the way up here, so that these can all be sunk in the same area. And then our last batch of 600 is obviously just going to be pre-set up in the machines. And obviously these are all less than 600. They are technically like, what, going to be 595 or something? Because we're 15 short of 1800. So yeah, theoretically these should all be 595. Alright, so that is that. And we can put the sinks in for these. So let's grab some space and do some sinking. That's a 1 and a 2. I forgot how big these things are. However much space you think a sink is going to take up, it's always like 10% more than that. There we go. Now we power on the sink. Connect it in. Alright. So that's the output of that done. Now we need to get the input of this done, which is just a 3 into 3. So how much rod input in is this? It's going to be 50 per batch. So these can be Mark 1s. There, there, and there. Then we have this one, which goes like that. And across. And then this one is the central one. So it's going to have an extra one in there, which we will deal with in a moment. For now, we just head on over here. And let's fill in that little space. It's not necessary, but slightly more square. Then we get this splitter in there, there, and there. Now we just have to take all these belts back and across and in. Now these are going to be 150-ish, so we are going to need them to be like that and like that. And then this goes all the way over this way and in. Alright, so that is that. Now 1785 divided by 4 is 446.25 rods, and 820 21.25 minus that is 375. So that should be easy. It's 270 plus 105. So we're going to do the same thing where we get that set up and then send the extra rods into there. So we have this as sort of our main belt. So, step one, grab a smart splitter and put the belt across. Now we get our belt of 270, which is easy. And then we need a belt of 105, which we just did. So it's going to be, I guess this needs to be right any center overflow first. Alright, so this then goes along, and we take, what is it, a merger? So that's 120. And that's 120. Then we take this along like this. Like that. So, we have 15 going back, right? We have 120 there, which is... Wait, no. Did I do this wrong? I think I did this wrong. So we have 60 there, which goes 30 and 15. So this is 45. That's fine. We can do it that way too. So that's 45. Then we just grab an additional smart splitter out back here, which will be the other 60. Then we just need to merge all of those up. Gosh, and apparently we are hilariously close to where drones are flying. So this is also right any center overflow. This one should be right any center overflow. This one is right any center overflow. Alright, so now we just have to combine all of those up and get our output, which is, for now, going to be into a sink. Which, I guess we need a smart splitter there preemptively when we want to grab those rods. And that just goes across. That's powered in. And this is center overflow, left any, right any. Alright, so now we have to go to logistics, pop in a throughput monitor, and confirm this should be 375. And that is looking somewhat promising. It's 270 plus 60 plus what should theoretically be 45. Although actually I think that needs to be a priority merger with right priority medium in order for that to work out. And this is a Mark 1 belt, right? Yeah, that has to be a Mark 1 belt, as does this. And get that in. There we go. That should fix that. So that should be limited to 375 now. And it is instead showing 390 for some reason. We have 270 there. This is 60, which is 30, plus 15 is 45. So that is 105 plus 270 should be 375. Why is it 390? Alright, it's starting to oscillate a bit, which is what we would expect for it to be 375. This is what the other one was doing at like, what, 675 or whatever? Alright, so that, we just have to make sure that that oscillation makes it through. And it looks like a pretty steady setup here. Alright, so that should be fine. Now, we just have to make sure that these two are center overflow. And indeed they are. So, this goes forwards. And it merges up there. Alright, so now that we have our merger, we need to take this around, and I guess it's going to have to go up to get over that. And actually it just needs to sort of go around backwards. Yeah, this is definitely not the cleanest splitting I've done. It would have been better for me to have this whole thing flipped. But it's sort of not worth fixing now. And actually, wait, no, we can just bring this around this way and have it be fine. So you go around like this. Go all the way around the back of the rod's production. And like this. And it's apparently just barely too long in straight mode, which I want to use because it looks nice. And so then we send that through. And it's going to be pretty intense rates for a while because we have lots of backlogged rods. Alright, so that should be good and should set up our screw production. So let's just give it a second for that, and let's also drop back in here. This is showing a stable 375. It's just oscillating perfectly like that. And then the rest is going through here. This stuff is going to be filled up because of how much spare is being outloaded onto these. These are all doing 60 a minute instead of the 45, which they would be doing on average. So it's going to be a little while before that all evens out, but we should get there eventually. And in the meantime, the screws are going along. And we are seeing pretty good success, probably. Alright, so that should be that. Screws done. Next up is going to be the steel pipes. which should be pretty much trivial. So we just have to find our steel pipes, which is... So this is the rest of the steel production going into this. And we just need to get that up here, and we can use this side of the factory, which we haven't really used much at all. So let's expand this out. We're going to need a whole lot of space as usual. And let's get in a blueprint designer. And we need to just bring a power line over this way so that we can hover around. Okay, now, constructor for... I'm past it. Yeah, it's up there. Steel pipes. So this is 30 to 20, and we need 450. So, if we just do batches of 2, we can speed balance it. 450 divided by 20, obviously 22.5. So we could just go 24. Yeah, that's pretty easy. That's 322. Wait, is it? Hang on. 24 is... You divide it by 12, which is by 2. Then you divide it down to 6, which is another 2. And then down to 3, which is another 2. So it's 2, 2, 2, 3. So we can get 4 of these in. And this is 450 divided by 24 is 18.75, which is not going to be load balanced, but is going to be pretty easy to just, well, it's not going to be speed limited, but it's going to be pretty easy to just load balance naturally. So you go in like that, and across like that, and back. Alright, so that, as far as inputs, is just less than 60 each there and there. Alright, so that's fine. And then all these are set properly. Yes, so now we can get the power lines in. And the outputs. We only need to do a single belt of outputs for all of these. Because 450 is less than 780. Alright, I shouldn't have that first belt be super fast. Should have all these be a nice patient Mark 1 belt. And now we just have to get that out like that. And this is going to be steel pipes. Save, clear, delete the designer, and then you can go in just like this, I guess. Just sort of mirrored from where the rods are doing. And we want to leave it a bit of space in here for whatever various purposes. And we need 6 of these, I think, because it's 24 total, and that's 4. So that's 1, 2, 3. And expand the foundations out. Like that. And then we go with 4, 5, and 1 more. Actually, let's just place it in and then put the floor under it. It actually was just exactly this anyways, so I would have been correct. Alright, so now we expand that out. And we have our steel pipe production. So, we have to build this back, put in the balancers, which is, I believe, going to be another 2 and then a 3. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that'll work. So, we need these to be Mark IIs, because these are 60-ish each, I think. Wait, no. It's more than that. No, it is. So that's 60, that's 60, which means that is 120. And it's slightly less than that, but for just the purposes of getting the belt speeds correct, it doesn't really matter. Alright. So then we have all of these. And did I make sure to get that right? Yes, I did. Alright, now we can just do that. Alright. Put in the last splitter, which I guess we're going to have it here since the steel is going to be coming up from this area. And these need to be Mark IIIs. So then you need to be a Mark III going into there. And then you need to be a Mark III. So you come out like that, and you go along, and you go in there. Alright, so now we just have to grab the other steel ingots and send them in there. So that is this, which is 675. So we pop a smart splitter on there, which is going to be center overflow right any. Then we're going to go up here, probably here-ish will be a good enough spot. Bring this down. We're going to need more space. So we have that, and you go up. Alright, now we just take you and get you around the corner and in there. Alright, so now we just have to power all of these guys up, put the sink in, and then that will be that. So these ones output over here, which means the sink is going to be over this way. And just get some foundations in. And the sink. So this is going to need a smart splitter there. And then we just go across. And we're all good. Alright, so now we go logistics, throughput monitor. Right there. And it'll show 450 once this all gets warmed up. Which should be any second now. Back over here, the screws are looking good. The rods look like they're still catching up a little bit in terms of getting these ones output. Yeah, it's a bit hard to say for certain whether this is working or not, because there's still a lot of emptying out to do over here. And then it might just be that this needs to be faster. Like that. Yeah, and it does look like this is draining properly. Alright, so we have our screws, we have our rods, and we have our pipes. Alright, next up, rotors. Which I imagine we're just doing base recipes, because rods and screws. These are the things that we're making here. So we need 75 of them. And so if we set this to 7.5, that's 375 rods. Uh-oh. 1,875 screws. Not 1,785 screws. Oh boy. Here we go. This is where it all falls apart. I made a typo and I didn't catch it. And we need to summon like 9 more screws. But how much is it? Yeah, it's like a pretty significant number. It's like 90. 1,875 minus 1,785. Yeah, so we need 90 more screws. And we need them to appear out of nowhere, as if by magic. Alright. So, first of all, we need to go here. And I guess we just have to work backwards through everything. So we need 90 more screws, which means how much can we get just by clocking these up? So that is 0.3 per machine, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is the line of 45. So that's not going to be anywhere near enough. I think we could get up to 1800, not 1875 though. Alright, so we need 90 more screws, which means we need, what, 90 divided by 4, 22.5 more rods, which means we need a bit more steel as well. Alright. So, there are two ways of fixing this. One is to just add an additional production line, which just takes, like, from all the way from the ore directly to screws and ignores this. The other is to expand all of this out, change all the load balancing so that it works properly as a single system, which I think that's what I want to do. It's going to be more time consuming. So, I guess let's recalculate this. 1,875 divided by 40 is 46.875. So we need at least 2 more machines, and I think we're going to go up to 48. So, divided by 48 is 39.0625. Alright, so step 1, we add our 3 extra machines on. So let's just grab the space for that, and go 1, and 2, and 3. So, step 2, 39.0625. 39.0625. And we're going to need to paste that setting all the way across this whole thing. So there we go. And this is the downside of using load balancing, is that you have to not do typos, which surprisingly has never really been a problem up till now. Like, I think this is the first time I've had to do something like this. Oh no, there was one other time, ironically, with a heavy modular frame factory that's like 5 feet away from us here, where I had done a much more severe typo. But it's pretty rare, but when it does happen, it really sucks. Alright, so we have those numbers set up again. Now, 48 is 6 times 8, which is going to be 3 times a whole bunch of 2's. So we need to tear out all of these mergers and all of these belts. So let's get rid of all of these guys as much as possible in one go. I don't know, let's do that and then come around and pick up these remaining pieces. Now, fortunately, 48 is a pretty straightforward number. You just have to have a lot of 2's. And we might even accelerate it with a couple of 4's. So if we do a 4 and a 4 and a 3, then we should be able to get it all done in just 3 batches, which will be convenient. Although obviously the endless chain of 2's is basically the same thing as that. It's just less concentrated. Alright, so this all has to come out. As do all of these guys. And of course it had to be the 1 to 5 splitters that I was doing. I couldn't have... If I had done it differently, where we had the 2's and the 3's in here, and then I put the 1 to 5 splitter on the outside, then it would have been super, super easy to fix. But unfortunately, I picked the wrong way of doing it. Because 45 is made of a bunch of 2's and a 3 and a 5, whereas 48 is just made of a bunch of 2's and a 3. So if I'd done it the other way, I could have made this fix a lot more easily, because the factors would have been all been the same, so you still would have had to merge it up into batches of 3 first, and then batches of 2's, and then there just would have been like 1 extra tacked on the side. Oh, okay, I took the power line out there, which is fine. We can let this guy empty out, although no, let's actually connect it back in. Not like that. What is going on? Please just connect up like so. All right. There's still so much left to do. Alright, let's do another dismantle filter to get rid of a whole bunch of belts all at once. And I have to hold down the button. And this is going to leave a whole bunch of stuff as well, but we should be able to sweep through that with another dismantle filter. Oh, no, stop. Dismantle filter splitters. So now we can sweep through all of those and get rid of them. And then we just have to get rid of these last couple of belts. Like that. Alright. Just about there. Just the last couple scraps to go. And... alright. That should be that. And we just have to take all of this out as well, and we're going to have to similarly reconstruct like every other part of the factory so far. Which kind of sucks, but it's fine. So now this is going to be a row of 48. We have to go back in and put in all of the splitters. I wonder if it would have been easier to just blueprint dismantle and make a new blueprint. Yeah, that probably would have been better. Ah well. You always think of the good ideas after you've already done the bad idea. So we just have to do a whole bunch of batches of 3 here, and then like a billion batches of 2. And then this will all be set up. So we just have to put that one in and make sure we drag from the correct ports. Alright. Dismantle that. Put it back in. There we go. Just keep going. Just keep going. Alright. Almost there. I say almost there as if we're close. Really, it's more so like we're more than half. Which is still something. So we just, not there. Just have to keep going. In the grand scheme of things, this is not that big of a deal. It's a little bit annoying, but, you know. It could be a lot worse. Could be a lot worse. Alright, so that all goes along. And now we're basically there. So that goes along like that. And another batch of 3. And one more batch of 3. So then you go into those 3. And now we just have to power these ones up and pop them into here, which the output belts shouldn't be broken. They won't be all equal. There'll be one that's slightly more than the others, but it should none of them should be like over 780 though. Alright, so that is all our giant batches of 3. Now we have to get in our giant batches of 2. Which, that's like 30, which means that these are going to be 30, and the things going into them are going to be 60. So we can use a lot of low speed belts here, which is nice. Why would you go off center like that? Just line up. Alright, so these just go along, and I need to not hit the wrong button on my keyboard. Alright, then this one goes into those two. And then, so I think this is like halfway-ish. So this one, we're going to flip around to make it shorter. Goes into those two. And we just keep going. Just keep going, getting all these guys in. One more of these. Alright, so that is that row. Now we just need another one, which I believe is, yeah, still Mark 1 belts. Whole lot of Mark 1 belts here. Alright, so then that goes there and connects in like so. Now we go over here and get this batch in. So you go like that and like that. And then we have this last one, which goes there and there. Alright. Making significant progress. So these ones now have to be Mark IIs. So they just come back like this. And that goes there. And into there. Alright, so this isn't going to need to get pushed back a little bit. Then this one goes to this one and this one. And of course there's just a random thing messing with me there. But that is all attached in. And then finally we get our last row, which I think ought to be Mark IIIs. And then that. Alright, so now, if we just pretended we had enough rods for all of this, then we would have the correct number of screws being output, which is 1,875. Alright, so next up is the rods. So if we have 1,875 screws, then so we have 90 more screws than we did, which means 90 divided by 4, 22.5 more rods, which we should be able to fit that in these by just expanding that up. So this is 821.25 plus 90 is 911.25 divided by 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Is that right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Yes. 911.25 divided by 18 is 50.625. If that is just barely more than this does... Yeah, this is 48. So this can go up to 48, but it can't go up to 50.6. So we need... to also expand and redo this one. Alright, let's add an extra batch of 3. And yeah, that should be fine, right? So we have currently... we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... Wait, is that actually going to cause a problem? 21 is 7 times 3? Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So if we just add an additional 2, then we would have 20. But that would waste our batches of 3. Yikes, this is awkward. Alright. These can go up to 12, which isn't useful for speed limiting. Man, why does this all have to be just like the most awkward possible numbers? I guess... Okay, I guess we do just add an additional 3, and then we just figure out the 1 to 7, which honestly shouldn't be that bad. So we were going to need to cut that out temporarily. One, 2, 3. So this gets that in, and we want this to be like the others. So it just does that. Alright, now we need our fun little 1 to 7. Which, yeah, again, shouldn't be that bad. And actually, I know how to do this, I think, in this setup. So we have... we're going to have to take this stuff out. So we have one... so we have one batch of 2. We have another batch of 2. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we send 3 there, 3 there, 3 there, and then just recycle it. Alright, so let's take that belt out all the way back to there so that we have some space. And what we need is... because the amount of rods in this, the amount of steel ingots in this is not a lot. It's like 200 some. So if we just divide this into 3 batches of 3, yeah, it should work. It should work. So a splitter goes there, which goes to there, and then some of it goes to there. Some of it goes to there, and then some of it goes here. But instead of sending all of that through, because each of these would be enough for 3 batches of 3. So instead, we send it back this way, and we get a merger and a merger. So this goes, actually, I think this merger needs to face this way. No, not, yeah, so it needs to face like that. And we need more space. So this needs to go back here, just a little bit. So, splitter goes in. We have a merger. So the splitter goes to there. Now, 2 of those 3 go here and back into that. The remaining comes along this way and goes into there. So, assuming that this works, we should have a 1 to 7. And not the normal way of doing a 1 to 7, which would be a 1 to 8 and then send 1 back. Instead we're doing a 1 to 9 and sending 2 back. But it all works out either way. I'm going to make you a faster. Send those in. So now this all merges up. And just goes like that. And those go in. Alright. Is this the right number? 45.625. Is that correct? So we need 821.25 rods divided by 21 should be 39.107. So that's 821.25 divided by 21. Alright, now we copy paste this all the way down the line. And the individual machines are going to go a little bit slower to compensate for the fact that there are more of them. And technically, this is very marginally more power efficient as well. Not that anyone cares about that, but it is technically a thing. Alright, now we take this and we sneak it around here. And then down this way. And in there. Alright, so that is rods done. Now that we have rods and screws, we need to work back to the steel, which should be the last one we need to work back to. So we needed... Oh, hang on. These numbers are all wrong still. I need to fix these, actually, so that 1875, 911.25. So this should be 911.25 divided by 21, which is some weird number. Unsurprising, I guess. So now we just have to run along, paste this in everywhere. And almost there. Done. Alright, so 43.393 times 21, just to confirm, is 890? 911.25 divided by 21 is 43.392. But, wait. Did I just do the math horribly wrong there? I must have just done the math horribly wrong there somehow. It should all be good. So, with that being... Wait, hang on. No, am I dumb? I might be dumb. $821... That's 90 more rods, but we don't need 90 more rods. We need 22.5 more rods. Alright. Try number 3. 821.25 plus 22.5 is 843.75. 843.75 divided by 21 is 40.179. Alright, will we get it right this time? I don't know what is going on with this turbo motor factory and me making horrific mistakes at every opportunity, but we will get there eventually. Alright, 40.179 times 21 is 843.759, which is rounding, of course. So, 843.75 rods. Ooh. 843.75 rods. Alright, we are finally at the correct number, I believe. So, this goes 375 here, 843.75 minus 375 is 468.75. 468.75 times 4 is 1,875. We've done it. We have the correct number of screws. Alright, so now we have to go back to the steel. So if we need 22.5 more rods, and this is 1 to 4, this also 1 to 4? Yes, so we need 22.5 more rods, which means we need 5.625 more steel ingots, which hopefully we won't need to mess around and change stuff, because it's such a small number. If these are all... Alright, they're not all perfectly maxed out, so that's fine. So, the amount of steel ingots we need is 880.3125 plus that. 885.9375. 885.9375. Alright. So we have that. Then, how many of these machines are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Wait, is this... Oh wait, no, most of these are speed balanced actually, which means I can't mess with them. It's just these last ones at the end, which I should be able to just bump up. And it should be easy. So, we need to increase by 5.625. So, plus, actually, divide that by 3 again, plus 1.875. Plus 1.875. Paste that across. And that's the steel. So next, we need the iron, which is 2 to 3. So, if we needed 5.625 more steel, then we have to multiply that by 2/3, which is 3.75 more iron. And I believe this is all being speed balanced. So let's get all the way down to the end where the rounding will be. And we've got plenty. So it's 3.75, which is going to be 1.875 each. Plus 1.875. Copy, paste that. Alright. That should be all accounted for. And then the iron just comes in off of a train, so we don't care, and it's not going to be more than 780, so we don't have to worry about any of that. We should have that whole chain of issues dealt with. So why are some of you guys... Ah, I see. I never connected you in. So let's send you across. And why are some of these... Alright. Did I get all of the ones that need fixing? No, I missed that one. Alright, now I think we're good. Yes, these are now all running, which means they're all getting steel. Okay, if we went along the back, they're all connected. Alright, so that was a bit of fun, fixing mistakes. But we got there in the end, and assuming that this little contraption is working, then that should be fine. Although that seems like it might be a bit of an assumption. Actually, no, these are all saturated and not outputting fast enough, which strongly leads me to believe that there is some problem here. Right, so this might need to be another one further back, potentially. So let's just go back to like here-ish, I guess. Because this is a fair amount more rods than it was. And also the amount in this last batch is going to be a little bit less than it was. So, just to make sure. So this is only batched up in one direction, but we can fix that easily enough. Alright, so you go out. You go forwards. Let's go back to just here randomly. And send you forwards. Alright, so we have that, and then what we need to do is get you to be a smart splitter, you to be a priority merger. So your priority, that, you are left any center overflow. So now this should, once we get that in, it should ensure that both of these are used to the max and we don't have any problems. So that should be fine. And this should be getting its full batch of, what, 375 or whatever. Okay, it was temporarily disrupted. while I was messing with it. And it should be back to normal soon, as should that. Alright, and then all of the screws are outputting just fine. Alright, so I think this is good. And now let's just yoink some of this stuff out so that whatever issues is going to be caused by them goes away a little bit sooner. Alright, and then at this point, these ones are just outputting as fast as they can produce. So then there might conceivably be some issue in here, but it doesn't look like it. Alright, I think we're good. I think we have everything sorted out. This is back to 375. And that is going along smoothly. So the only thing I might want to do is just... Okay, well, here's something that I'm going to need to do, is I'm going to need to connect that up. Was it just that singular one which was wrong? Looks like all the rest of them are connected. Alright, so I might want to desaturate this belt just a little bit, which if I just stand here and mash this should happen. Maybe not. Alright, let's get all of those rods out of my inventory because boy do I not need them. Alright, so yeah, the problem is that there's still, this belt is still saturating like crazy, which isn't necessarily surprising because of how this is all set up. But if I just continue grabbing rods off of this so that it runs faster, looks like it might be making a bit of a difference. But I think, oh, these are actually still a little bit saturated, so we're going to need to grab some of them off. And so we have center priority medium here. I think this needs to be center or left priority medium in order to work properly, because otherwise this one might get cut off by all this stuff. Alright, I think we're good. I think we should all be set here. So, now on to the rotors, which is what we were working on. So, rotors. We need 75 of them, which is going to be 375 iron rods, 1,875 screws. And it's going to be a lot of machines as well. So let's see, where we have our rods and screws both available over here. Actually, this is where all these sinks are. So we could go up a level, but I don't think we need to. I think we can just go and do it in maybe this space. Yeah, let's do it in this space. So this is all going to go out here. And we are going to need a blueprint for this. It's going to be assemblers. Alright, so we need this to be lined up to be effective use of the blueprint designer. Oh, so this has 2 inputs, so we're going to want this to be multiple floors anyways. Yeah, okay, so that's fine then. So, rotors. 4 per minute. 75 divided by 4 is 18.75. So we're going to need at least 19 machines. And I guess we'll go with 20. It's a good, solid number. And that lets us get 4 of these in. But actually, I don't want these to be on this floor. What I want is to set up the built-in logistics floor. So we have that. Then this gets a foundation up here. All these machines go in like that. Then we get our assemblers, which, yeah, we can just line up like this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So half of this is going to be done on this floor, the other half is going to be done on the floor below. And you get to be rotors, and 75 divided by 20 is 3.75. So we paste those settings across so that they're all correct. And that's going to be a whole lot of screws, obviously. We knew that. It's going to be Mark II belts immediately, which is kind of crazy. So that is going to do that. Then we get these in. And then these belts just go across, and that's all the rods, which only need Mark I belts. And then they combine up like that. So that is going to be 40 each on those. So this is fine. And then we have to drop down and set this up down here as well. There's going to be a whole lot of Mark II belts. So that is all that. Then we get our splitters in. The old easy 1 to 4. And all of these get Mark II belts. Now we have these go in. So that's 90 plus 90 is 180. So these need to be Mark III. And then we're going to need Mark IV or 5 out here. Alright, so now we just get power poles. Get all of these powered up. The settings are in. Didn't forget. And we just conveyor merger these together. Make sure that they line up. 1, 2, stop. Stop doing that, where you line up initially and then get slightly off center just as the exact instant that I click it. Alright, so the main line here needs to be Mark II, because we're going up to 75. And that's that. Alright, so this is rotors. Save that, clear. And delete. Alright, so we are going to need 5 of those, which is going to be a lot of space. It's going to be a lot of space. Yeah, let's have this up a floor. Actually, can we... Let's see, this is a different factory. This factory over here is all constructors on this floor. So we can have this be a pretty short floor. But I think it still needs to be 3 to get above the power poles. Alright, so that is all good. So this goes across. And I mean, that should be enough horizontal space, probably. Just give me the space down the line so that we can place 5 of these next to each other. Alright, now we have all that. We grab the blueprint and we pop it in and line her up like so. So we have 1. Oh, I didn't do the auto connect properly on the back. That's fine though. 2, 3, 4, and we're missing reinforced iron plates, but they showed up, so that is that. So we just need to fill in this little area in here with foundations. Alright, so that is all that. And now we just have to connect them up. So, the screws are going to be actually a bit of a nightmare. Because we have to take... Yeah, this is actually going to be really hard. We have to take our 3 belts, divide 3 evenly into 5. How on earth do you do that? The rods will be easy, of course, because that's just a single belt going along. But we're going to have to invent a 3 to 5 balancer, which is not going to be easy. Alright, so how do we do that? So we need, I guess we just do the old 3 1 to 5 balancers next to each other and then send 3 batches from each of those into one of these. Yeah, okay, it's actually not that bad. Go here. Give me more space though, because it's going to be a little bit space consuming. Alright, so we have our space back here. And then this goes 1. And why is that the automatically snapping to the blueprints that it does? That's not what I want at all. I want it to be more like that. And then we have this space over here. And we get the 3rd. Okay. So that is that. Now, as long as our 3 belts are all even, this works. But I don't think they are. So that is going to be another step that we have to accomplish. Which hopefully won't be too hard, actually. Because there's 48 of these. 48 divided by 3 is 16. So we just have to make sure that these wind up as batches of 16 constructors before they go in here. Alright, so now we just need to do this. So you get a merger. Oh, we're going to need to upgrade all of these. to be super fast. So let's get the internals first, and then we can worry about the outputs in a bit, because we're going to be dismantling most of them anyways. There's no point upgrading these and then immediately taking them down and rebuilding them. So those all go in. Then we go there, there, and there. So that's one. Then we have another one, which is there. And we're going to have to use default mode to get these to curve around better. Alright, and then you go into there, and we're not going to use straight mode. We're just going to have them go directly in, because it's kind of a bit of a mess anyways. Alright, we get another one. So you all merge up into that. And then you go forwards into there. And just two more. So I think you're going to have to be off-center slightly so that that one has room to curve in. There we go. And now you're going to go off that way, and we'll get you in the last bit in a moment. For now, upgrade all you. Send those in. And bring them over. Alright, so now these just come along. You go in there. And you go in there. Alright. So that is everything. Now we just need to make sure that these are balanced, which currently aren't, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Alright, so they're literally like one off. So you have to go to there, and then you have to come out to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Alright, so we just have to then get the rest of these. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So that goes like that. You guys go into there. You come out that way and go in. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Alright. So that should all be good, if not for the fact that this doesn't necessarily seem to be outputting a max speed, but that might be fine. That's probably fine. Alright, so 39.062 times 16, not point, not slash, obviously, is 624.992 times 3. Yep, so that all checks out. So this is going to be like 625, actually. And in fact, I suspect if we just, yes, we just pop that in, which is the fully accurate version. There we have 625 on each belt. And we just have to take those up and in. Alright, so that is that. So let's get these in. So you get a smart splitter, you get a smart splitter, and you get a smart splitter. Alright, so then that is going to have to come out over there. And then these all have to go directly up. So you go up to that. And let's see if that lines up right. It does. There we go. Then this one, we need to get up to there. And then you go up, but yeah, so you're not going to be lined up quite right, I think. That's a bit problematic. Did I just place it wrong? I don't know. Can you go... Just... No, you can't. That's unfortunate. Alright, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to split you off, like, back here. And that should give you enough time to just, like, angle into this floor hole. So you can then go in like that. You go up like this. And then this one, please work. Alright. I think it will. Yeah, so then you go up there. So now we need to call all of these left any center overflow. And you need to be a smart splitter with right any center overflow. Alright, so now we have these. And they just have to output like this. And like that. So this one is going to have to sneak in the middle there, which it can just barely manage. And you go there. You go forwards. You go forwards. You go into there. And you come around and into there. Alright, you aren't working. Why? Alright. I could have sworn I'd done cop. Oh, you're not working because you did some weird nonsense instead of what I asked you to do. So please just be normal. Like that. And then it looks like I might also have to rebuild this one. Oh, no, I have to set this to left any center overflow. Alright, we've got that working. And we have our screws going through the whole loop. Alright, so that is that. Now we have to grab rods up to here. And then power the whole thing on and see if it works. Which it should. I can't imagine there being any problems with this because it's pretty simple, but you never know. I've made basic math errors before, so we will have to see. Alright, so that then goes up. I had that preset. Alright, let's make sure the rest of that foundation is in. And then we just have to bring this belt up one more. Alright, so that then expands out like that, goes up there. And up we go. Alright, so now this just has to do a 1 to 5 split. And we will have our... What am I even making here? Rotors? Yes, rotors. Alright, 1 to 5 balancer. In you go. You go across there. Then all of these get upgraded, as do all of these. And now we just send these in. 1 and 2. And we're going to need more foundations for this. So let's get that going. Then these 3 need to go across. And get 1, 2, and 3. Alright, so now they go as far forwards as they can in preparation of going into the machines. So there we go, and boom, boom. You come over here. If you can place properly. And in you go. Alright, so that's that. So now we just have to connect these outputs up, pop them into a sink, and then power the machines on. And then we will be all set and ready to go for rotor production, which is one more significant step towards the end goal. So that goes in. Awesome sync lines up there. Smart splitter goes in. And then we have that just go across like that. Alright, and we can get in a throughput monitor on that, just because we're going to want one eventually. Now all of these get connected up. And then we snap that down there. And this whole thing should be getting started. Alright, so they're definitely filling up. And there we go. Our first batch is now in production. And that is rotors. Rotors are going, and they should be able to keep going, hopefully forever. Alright, so that is that. And they go in here. By the way, up to 611 coupons, plus the 214, so we're at 825 coupons, which is a good bit of the way through. Alright, we did inevitably build over the drone ports, but that's fine. It was always going to happen, let's be real. Alright, so we have this. Rotors are done. Then let's just refresh ourselves on what turbo motors need. We're doing turbo pressure motors. So we have to make motors. We have to make these, but we have the fused frames and the RCUs being imported. We've finished doing this. So what we need to do now is make stators and send them into motors and turbo motors. And that's really all there is left. So in order to make the stators, we're going to need to make wire, which somehow I think didn't get written down in my notes how much wire we need. So I guess we're going to have to figure that out. The stators is 3 and 8. Or were we doing quick wire stators? No, I think we're doing this one. Yes, because we need 450 steel pipes, which is 3 times the 150 stators we need. So the wire we're doing is fused wire. So we need 150 stators, which means we need 1200 wire. 1200 wire is going to be, using fused wire, this times 10, which is 160 and 40. Alright, so the math all checks out. So what we need to do now is we need to grab these guys and send them up. So we've basically just given up on not having the drones fly directly through everything, I think. So let's just... Actually, we can probably use this space here. It's a bit weird because we're going to be getting super close to this, but it should be fine. Alright. So the ingots are down there. We just need assemblers. And how many are we going to be... Actually, this is going to be another multi-story setup. So let's get that in, and let's just load up that one, because it's going to be mostly correct, probably. And instead of rotors, we're going to be making fused wire. So we copy the settings across, and then we need to figure out what the numbers are going to be like. So it's 90 each, and we need 1200. So 1200 divided by 90 is going to be at least 14. And we have these nice convenient batches of 4 in here, so I think we're going to go 16. So it's going to be 75 each, which is perfectly fine. Paste those across, and this is all we need. And the belts and stuff are fine. Technically a little bit overkill down here, so we should grab some reinforced iron plates, because last time we used this, we ran a little bit over on those. So this we're going to rename as fused wire. Save that and clear it. So we just need 4 of these. And I guess we just start popping them in here. On this next floor up. Right. So we need to take this space. And we might be able to salvage the drone ports if we go out this way as well, which we can do. We do have the space for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so that is that. So now we just have to line these up. And Actually, we want to give this an extra row of space, don't we? For loading it up. Maybe even 2. Because we need inputs on this side. So we can't just cram it in as tightly as it'll go. I'm going to give it some space to breathe so that we can have belts going through this area. So now we nudge you over this way. And we go 1. And 2. 3. And 4. Alright, so that is that in. Now we need to drop down here and put these foundations in so that it isn't all just floating. I don't mind things not having walls connecting them up, but I do mind them not having floors to sit on. So this is all good. That's as much as we need. So now we just need to combine these up to single belts and then grab the copper and caterium and throw it in. So let's make this just one little bit wider. Don't even think it'll be necessary. It will ever so slightly, I think. So these all connect up in our 1 to 4. So there we go, and there we go. Let's see, these are 10 each. So that's 40. That's 80. So we need Mark II belts connecting these guys up. And then Mark III belts going into them. So we go there, and we go there. And that's copper. And then the caterium, we only need 40 ingots total, so we're not going to need any fancy belts there. So this just goes along like that. And we put in this. And we go across to put in that. And just snap all the belts in. There and there. There and there. So finally we get this, which goes there and there. And that's caterium. So now we just have to get those two up here. So caterium is there, copper is there. We just need to... Okay, they can just go directly up to the ceiling, I think. So this goes up this way. And like so. I did preemptively set that up. Very cool. Then this one, we're going to need to take that water pipe out and just push it over that way a bit. Yeah, that should be enough. And we go back to this hot bar, and you go up to there, which I think, yeah, so that lines up. Give it a little click. And did this get... No, this did not get set up. So that's overflow. That's any. And that's copper. Up to this floor. Alright, so caterium needs to go into here, which we can just go sort of midway, like this. Actually, this does not need to be any faster than Mark 1, because this is the caterium belt. So you go there, and we just connect you across. Then copper has to come up to here, which I think we will put its belt there, just so that it isn't in the way of the other stuff. It's a little bit awkward, but not a significant problem. So then we just have to bring it down, like that, and like that. Then that belt goes up and in. Alright, so that is copper cycling through. Deuterium is making it. It's got a long journey on slowish belts, so it'll be a bit. The copper, by contrast, has faster-ish belts, at least to start with. So off it goes. And now we just power this up, connect the outputs. Actually, this is a lot of wire, right? It's 75 times 20 is... wait, 1,500? Oh, wait, no, it's not 20, it's 16. Right. It's 1,200. 1,200 wire, which is just 2 belts worth. It's actually not that bad. Now, for some reason, I definitely didn't upgrade these. And I also need to find power. So, we get you. You come across to here. And we can power all these guys up. So they can start going, and I can start flying around the area. So these are going to be 2 batches of 600. So that is fine. We don't need to do any more fancy stuff there to get them working. There we go. We are going to need to make these Mark II belts. Mark I belts aren't fast enough for 75 a minute. Alright, so this all goes like that. And then we have to get our space for the sinks, which can just go over here. So we go there, and there, I guess. So you go into that, you come along, and actually we need our splitters first. So you get a splitter, and you get a splitter. And then we go along, we connect the sinks up to power. We connect that across, like so. And that is a whole bunch of wire now being sunk, which means we are producing wire. Alright, so we have wire, we have pipes. The next step is to make the stators. However, I'm feeling a bit exhausted. It's 4:30. I've been going for a while, and I'm also not quite back into the groove of things with streaming because of my break. So I think we're going to call it here a little bit early. Next stream, we will make the stators, put them into motors, put the motors and the stators into turbo motors, and maybe be done? Question mark? I mean, that's a lot of stuff to do in one stream, but it is possible. And if not, we'll definitely finish on Friday. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Had a lot of fun putting all this stuff together. And make sure to follow if you haven't already. I'll be streaming Factorio on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. So that should be fun. And then we'll be back to Satisfactory on Wednesday. So yeah, that's about it. And yeah, thank you, Insane Ninja Boy. Appreciate it. Glad to hear people are enjoying stuff. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. 2 to 5 Eastern time as usual. And that's about it.